This show is for informational purposes only. In view of the complex nature of health and disease, it is only recommended that you change your current treatments or healthcare practice with the direct assistance of a health professional. You can contact Dr. Dale if you desire to achieve true health. Call his office at 931-591-2010.
And now, here's the man of the hour. Here is Dr. Dale Brown. Good morning, sir.
Thank you, John. I appreciate the introduction. You know, we got a great show in store for everyone out there right now. What I want you to do, though, is the subject of conversation today is going to pertain towards cancer. Obviously, October is Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah.
And
that it is.
I think we're all aware of cancer. That's one of the biggest frustrations in seeing the way this month is marketed. The hoopla, the pink everywhere, it's just everything is pink washed. And my heart goes out to people that have had family members, you know, stricken with cancer. I've seen close friends and a family member be hit with cancer.
So have I.
You know, I watched my aunt go through breast cancer and go through the entire medical treatment, you know, from having a mastectomy, having her breast removed, and then going through chemotherapy, going through radiation, and, you know, being told she's basically, hey, we got it all, it's all gone, you're quote-unquote cured of cancer, and yet it came back many years later. I mean, she's lucky to survive that long after going through all the treatments. Actually, about halfway through the medical treatment of chemotherapy, it about killed her, and they had to stop the chemotherapy regimen halfway through because her white blood cells, her immune cells, and even her red blood cells were bottoming out. So her body wasn't responding. That poison they were putting into her body was just taxing her system so much that she couldn't really recover if they had continued that, and she would have died as a result of, you know, cancer therapy. And that is an interesting point to be made right there. The New England Journal of Medicine, which is a research study I have not read, but we will be discussing it here over this month. Pretty much October is going to be discussion about cancer, natural wilderness remedies to treat and assist somebody. I guess it wouldn't be treat cancer because the FDA says you got to make something patentable and make it chemical, and you know, that's when you patent it. And we'll be talking about some therapies like turkey tail mushroom and other things, immunotherapies, that the drug companies and, you know, nobody wants a patent. Nobody wants to mess with it because they can't patent it, and because you can't patent it, you can't make large sums of money. But this right here could have helped my aunt, you know, boost her immune system, recover from that chemotherapy damage there. That would be a natural alternative. You know, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about many different things, from should you get a mammogram, should you not get a mammogram, what are the benefits of the current medical treatments or current medical testing right now we're using, especially in America. You know, the goal for today's show is to really talk about, you know, what are the most important tests that you can have or do that will tell you not just whether you have cancer, but actually tell you how your body is functioning, healing, and whether you're susceptible to developing cancer. Because, you know, I never want to have to tell a miracle story of my wife beating cancer, because I never want her to get cancer. The same thing goes for my son, my daughter. I never want a miracle testimony, and I love seeing miracle testimonies of healing, you know, like my aunt who went through chiropractic care, changed her nutrition, because she was told she'd have 3 to 6 months to live.
Yeah, that's a great story.
From metastatic breast cancer to her lungs, and told she's going to die by the medical community, and she survives by all natural means. Completely all natural. Beats a cancer for which medicine says there is no cure and there is no possibility that you would survive. Just to check on all our listeners out there, we are live on Facebook. Want to make sure everybody can hear us there all right. Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, whatever you want to. One of those emojis, is that what they're called?
Yes. A happy face. Give us a happy face.
I want a mushroom emoji.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It'd be like somebody says, I've got the flu, and I can give them a mushroom emoji. But anyways, you know, what tests should you be taking? And we're going to talk about, you know, those things that give you the risks. Because the reality is, again, does anybody out there want to get cancer? No. We're all well aware of cancer. But in America, we don't necessarily promote the things that are going to tell us our risk of developing cancer. We don't become more and more aware of the things that cause cancer. We just become more and more aware of cancer itself. Like in my clinic, October is like the most devastating month in cancer throughout the entire year. I have more patients come into me and tell me about this month being a family member or a friend or a church member being diagnosed this month than any other month in the entire year. And some people may be thinking to themselves, well, that's good. They found the cancer. Hopefully they found it early enough. But we're going to talk about that. The fact that finding cancer early really makes no difference in the true longevity or lifespan of a person.
It has nothing to do with it.
Almost nothing. I mean, there's a few cancers here and there, but the reality is
the biggest part of them.
The biggest part, the greatest impact that cancer's having on families and individuals, we're not doing anything about it with the current testing we're utilizing, because we're testing for crisis. We're testing for when somebody has cancer. We're not testing and telling them, here are your risk factors, here's your lifestyle factors, here's your body warning us that something's wrong. And if we can identify those things right there, if we could say to somebody right now, your autonomic nervous system, so your automatic nervous system, your nervous system is at high stress. If you live in this state for long term, you're going to get cancer, or you're going to have cardiovascular disease, or you're going to get diabetes. And that's the reality, is when we look at the nervous system, if it's under a state of stress, we know the person's future is looking grim in terms of health. Because if they're under stress, their body can't recover, it can't heal, it can't function well. And just to let everybody know this, I'm going to talk about this because right now in all the literature, like it's crazy to me how much scientific literature is being published right now looking into things like heart rate variability studies. Testing and heart rate variability, what is that? That's the variable speed at which your heart is beating. So you got beats. You go beep, beep, beep. You want it to go beep, 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 beep. You want different time intervals in between each one of those beats. That would be a variable heart speed, okay? If it's just beep, 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 the exact same time, well, that means your body is stuck in a high amount of stress. It's going into failure. It cannot adapt to the stressors that we're coming in contact with. So if you're smoking every single day, we've all seen this. We got one person who smokes a pack of cigarettes and another person who smokes a pack of cigarettes. Two people smoking the same amount of cigarettes every single day, or two people working in the same office building, and they're surrounded by asbestos. And now thankfully they got most of that stuff out of buildings and office spaces and stuff like that. But we see that. We see people living a lifestyle where you would be like, okay, they're doing something like smoking that causes cancer, and we know that it contributes to cancer.
It's one of the factors.
It's one of the big factors in things like lung cancer and many other cancers. But why would one person get cancer while another person who smokes the same amount of cigarettes never get cancer? It's their body's capability adapting to the stress. The smoke is a stress, is a chemical stressor that damages the cells in our lungs, causes DNA damage. But why is one person adapting and another person not? If we can get to that and enhance the patient's or the individual's adaptability, their ability to take on stressors, adapt to them, recover from them, heal from them, detoxify their body, that right there is the key to health. And that's what we need to begin to focus on. We need to be more aware of the things that will help us never get a disease. And that's what we're going to be talking about. I had a request online, though, on Facebook to discuss an emergency topic before we go into a lot of the information on cancer. And I've got my binder of cancer research right in front of me we'll be going through. And remember that you can call into the radio show, 645-6414. That's 931-645-6414. Call into the radio show, ask questions live. If you have somebody that's been diagnosed with cancer, I would love to help you and them see what they can do to really reduce the risk from ever coming back. Because if we stick with the standard medical treatments, the risk of cancer coming back is sometimes almost guaranteed because it's not removing root causes. We have to remove root causes. And I understand that statement may be kind of blunt and it's true health talk for a reason.
Yeah, that's right.
If we don't remove root causes, it's nothing more than a piece of duct tape. You're just removing the body organ,
just a
the breast
Band-Aid.
tissue. Yeah. You're covering it up. You may remove the organ for which the tumor arose in first, but you're not removing what caused the cancer to arise in the first place.
Because it'll just move to somewhere else.
Exactly. Because the body's still under stress, it's still weak, it's either still toxic, it's not functioning well, or it's nutrient deficient. That's basically where cancer comes from. And I know that people are like, well, what about hormones? What about estrogen, those things? Well, it's still chemical toxicities like plastics and our hormone disruptors that we're spraying on our food. Our non-organic food contains massive amounts of hormone-disrupting chemicals like atrazine that actually is an aromatase enhancer. Aromatase enhancer is basically what that means, and this is one thing I had somebody mention to me that I needed to break down some of the technical scientific terms
All right,
for
put
people
it in
that are
simple
like,
terms.
put it in simple terms. Okay, so we've got chemical companies in America. And I say America specifically because actually atrazine is illegal in like Europe and different other countries because they know it's harmful and causes cancer.
But here,
But the chemical company is a subsidiary company under a company like AstraZeneca that makes breast cancer drugs.
yeah,
They own chemical companies that then make food spray or chemicals we spray on our foods that are aromatase enhancers that actually cause an increase in estrogen production in the female body. It's a hormone disruptor, which then add to the cancer risk.
I see a circle.
And then they make the drug,
Yeah.
tamoxifen and others,
We
that are aromatase
we accidentally gave you this, but
inhibitors.
here's something to take care of it.
Yeah, we're going to spray on your food, something that will cause your estrogen go up. Then we're going to convince you that breast cancer is hormone-driven, which partly is, because estrogen causes the breast to enlarge and cells to multiply so that when estrogen goes up, when mom needs to breastfeed, breast can enlarge for that purpose.
But it's all part of the stress factor.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying here is that the estrogen, these chemicals, are stressors on the body.
Yeah.
They're
They
chemical
spray them on the
stressors,
food.
and they cause improper regulation of hormones, or they trigger hormones to be produced in excess, and that stresses the body out. But there's lots of women that eat those foods and never get breast cancer despite having raised estrogen. Well, it comes down to their liver function. If their liver is functioning well because their nervous system controls that
takes it
organ,
out.
it takes it out. It filters it out. It metabolizes that excess estrogen. So the body can respond to that, and that's the important thing, is can your body respond to the stressors you're placing your body under? You know, so estrogen is good, but they make these drugs then that are aromatase inhibitors. So the mechanism of action for many of the breast cancer drugs in America right now used that cost thousands of dollars a month are aromatase inhibitors. They stop the production of estrogen. Meanwhile, we're spraying chemicals on our food to kill insects and then kill the human population. Yes, that's what's happening. It's literally, I just look at that. I'm like, how in the world are we allowing this to happen in our country right now? We're not free to eat really, truly healthy food.
No.
We don't live in the land of the free anymore. The land of the grow it yourself or be poisoned.
Yeah.
You know?
Or eat what we give you.
We get organic section, you know, and then I think, well, I'm glad that the organic growers can actually sue farmers at their next door, and they have the wind blow their chemicals over on organic foods, and they can identify that. They could actually sue the neighbor farmer. And I agree with that, because you know what? If your chemical pesticide kills my honeybees, you're at fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would think so.
If I shoot a rifle on my property and the bullet goes across the road and hits somebody else, I'm at fault.
Yeah.
I can't say, no, the lot line was here. I was shooting on my property. That's the same thing. You're spraying a chemical. It's a harmful agent.
That
If
is.
it goes, well,
And if the wind blows
maybe we can encourage farmers just to stop spraying. Like,
That would be
we need to
good.
figure out better ways of farming, and there are ways of better farming if we weren't so dependent on let's eat tons and tons of corn and then make ethanol and then soy everything. You know, if we could get rid of that stuff, we'd be a lot better off. But all right, so here's what we need to talk to. Here's the question I have. Let me get to it here real quick. Question, I was tagged in a comment on Facebook here. Caitlin got to me. She said, yesterday, this is the question, not going to share this person's name, but yesterday we fly from Nashville. This is a young lady with a new baby. She says, yesterday we fly from Nashville to Cali. When getting our passes in Nashville, the man at the counter asked to see my son's shot record. He just turned 2 months yesterday. Even if I were to even if she was to vaccinate, so this woman is not going to vaccinate her children. Thank God. Okay? Even if I were to vaccinate, he's 2 months, he can't receive any vaccines unless he's going to get the hepatitis B vaccine, which would be given at birth, and that's the only one that that child could have received at that moment in time. So is the guy going to be like, you can't fly unless you have your hepatitis B vaccine, because this kid may have sex on the plane or may take an IV drug while on the plane, and then they're going to be susceptible. Or there may be somebody spitting up blood, I guess, and then right in the mouth of the baby. Like, I know that's gross, but that's the reality. Like, this guy is pressuring a mom for no good reason. Nothing but
see your papers, please.
Let me see your papers. Let me see your
papers, please.
You got your shots? Got them? Okay. Go into that room right there. Security, get this woman. Her baby's not vaccinated. Put her in the back room. Force her to vaccinate before she gets on the plane.
That's right.
Not allowed to go and see her family. It's just ridiculous.
It's crazy.
I'm sick of stupid people. Here's my deal. I'm sick of this. You know why this guy is trying to ask these questions to this mom about vaccine records while she's trying to get on a plane to probably go visit her family? It's because he's been lied to. You know what? You want to know why the CDC is doing a power grab right now? Why they want the government to give them permission to incarcerate, basically, to quarantine people for unlimited amount of time. Solely on the CDC's decision to think that, oh, you may be infected, you may be sick. We're going to quarantine you, we're going to put you basically in a jail cell and hold you there until you agree to be vaccinated. You want to know why the CDC's doing a power grab? Because they know we know. They know people like myself and many others out there, but it's a small portion of the population, sadly, that know that the CDC has been blatantly lying about the fact that vaccines are causing autism. If they've got to lie about the fact that vaccines contribute and are contributing to the autism epidemic, they're lying about that. They did it 3 times. Verstraeten study was a blatant lie, committed research fraud. We've got researchers that the CDC hired. That's an OIG fugitive. That's a fugitive of America's Most Wanted for committing fraud and money laundering through the CDC to pump out research studies that apparently said vaccines don't cause autism, but they're majorly flawed. They've been proven to be bad word, you know what, and it's just ridiculous. And then we've got Paul not Paul Thorson, that's the OIG fugitive. Then we got Bill Thompson, a senior scientist still working with the CDC, a current whistleblower who's gone to Congress and said, please subpoena me so I can show you that the CDC is lying and we're causing brain damage to millions of children in the United States. He said that. Not word for word. I'm putting it in layman's terms. Yeah. He says, we got a big old trash can. We threw evidence away that showed a strong correlation, a 700% increased risk of autism, and then a 300% additional increase in African-American boys over Caucasian males.
Threw it away.
Threw it away. Threw the evidence away. Lied about it. He's waiting to be subpoenaed. If people don't wake up to that right there, they're going to continue to try and do these things and force it because they know the majority of the population is asleep at the wheel, have no clue they're going towards a guardrail when they're vaccinating their children and can harm them. They know that. So if they can do the power grab now, they have law to force their lies.
That's true.
You ever heard that saying? What were you going to say?
I was going to ask, if the CDC gets this passed where they can do that, do you fear they will come after people like you?
I do. I have no doubt that's their goal. They have to force their lies. They have to shut us up or they got to vaccinate us. I mean, that's the thing, is they're doing a power grab because they know they're losing in terms of the research and evidence. The research and evidence shows harm, shows non-necessity of vaccinating. They show that the whooping cough vaccine causes you to be colonized by Bordetella pertussis, another strain of bacteria that causes whooping cough, for which you spread it to the youngest and most susceptible, putting them at risk. So the vaccine is what's putting people and children, young babies, at risk, is the vaccine. CDC, FDA research has proven that. They know this. They know that the flu vaccine does nothing to prevent pneumonia and death, but actually increases colonization of strep and pneumonia in your lungs. So going on a plane and then getting your vaccine right before you get on the plane is the best opportunity for you to get infected even greater, because you have a weakening of your immune system. I talked about that last. Go back to the last shows and watch and learn about all the research about the harms of the flu vaccine. But give me an amen, give me something out there, because the reality is like, do people get this? If we don't wake up to the fact that they're doing a power grab because they're losing the battle in terms of the research, so they know the truth is coming out, but if they can suppress the truth and they can get the government and the law enforcement agencies and then keep you from traveling throughout the United States or other countries, if they can quarantine you against your will simply because you didn't take a vaccine, they can force their agenda. They can force that on the American people. And if they can do it before more people wake up, they're going to succeed. They're losing in one way, in the facts and the research, but they're winning because we have a corrupt government, organizations that haven't done anything about a CDC whistleblower coming forward and saying the CDC's been lying.
And he wants to
for more than a
testify.
year. He wants to.
And they won't let him.
And they won't do anything. All they got to do is say, hey, we need an emergency. I mean, for something that is the worst epidemic in American history in terms of health, the worst. 1 in 4 children have a learning disability.
Yes.
And vaccines cause brain damage.
And all this wasn't around when I was a kid. Not as bad, I don't think. I just don't remember it like I do now.
What do we do here? I just don't even know where to go from this point. Like, it's like, what are we doing, America? Wake up.
Wake up,
please.
America.
They argued over it. Since when do we have to get a shot record to fly? Since
that is crazy.
People are ignorant.
And the baby was
only
people 2 months old.
Are being told. And that's the thing, is people are sold out, but in a faith-based religion, that vaccines work. And I'm telling you, right now, if you haven't read a research study, but you believe wholeheartedly in vaccines, guess what? That's a faith-based religion. That's an idol. You know, there are churches in America now saying you can't bring your son or your child to Bible study. They can't study the Word unless they are vaccinated.
Oh, you got to be kidding.
No idol shall be before me. The Lord said that. How dare a church put an idol like vaccines, a faith-based religion, before Christ? Right there is why I'm so ticked off. Because literally...
Can't believe it.
Yeah, the vaccine looks like a cross, but it's the wrong one. All right. Hopefully that summed up what that question and what we need to do. This is what I want to know. I want to know, why are they mandating this flu vaccine, but they won't tell us the benefits. They won't tell us the risks. They just say you have to do it.
You have to
She's
do
like,
it.
It's basically treating the military families, wives and children like the military, saying, hey, listen to direct orders, roll up your sleeve and take the shot. She's like, I want to know why I need to take the shot. She's like, they won't give us that stuff. So I read the research. She's told me, she's like, we need people like you, sir, who will go to government and lobby. And I agree, but I have no money to do that. Maybe we need to start a funding campaign where Dr. Dale, the Wild Doc, can go to government.
GoFundMe.
A GoFundMe account so I can go lobby, where I can give this research to our senators, our representatives, our Congress members.
Oh.
We'll get to a question here in 1 second. We got one on Facebook. You'd be right to you, Kimberly. So I'm sitting there and I'm reading through all the research, and I mean, I was like, listen, I'm just going to go through this as quickly as I can. I don't want to take much time. I went through all of it. The females in the room were very responsive. The females in the room were like, holy cow, that's the research.
Yeah.
Okay? All of the females wanted more information. I gave out books on the risks of thimerosal, the mercury-based preservative, mercury in the flu vaccine. I then went through research that shows, like Cochrane Database and others, showing only paralytic responses from the flu vaccine, that the evidence shows your child is more likely to be paralyzed than benefited. And then the research shows that they're more likely to wind up in the hospital, 300% more likely to wind up in the hospital due to flu-related illnesses in emergency situations due to the flu and pneumonia if they got the flu vaccine. Okay?
All right.
The research shows that. Gave it to them. Females were very responsive. One of the guys, when I was talking about the nurses, and back me up here, ladies and gentlemen out there that are watching this right now, that have children on the DoD installations, post on Facebook, share it, like it. Make sure that you send a letter to the school board. Make sure that you come to the school board next time and tell them the truth and tell them the situation and what the nurses are doing. Because I keep getting stories of going and bringing in the religious exemptions to the nurses, and they say that doesn't work. We're not accepting it. Nope, if you vaccinated in the past, you can't be a religious exemption. So we're not going to honor that anymore. Therefore, and one of the guys goes, he just goes, whoa, hang on. The parents may tell you that. They may tell you that, but it doesn't mean it's actually happening. All they need to do is turn in this. So he disregarded a statement. He should have been like, we'll check into that. Yeah. We'll make sure that the nurses
but he
know
just blew it
that
off.
He blew it off.
Yeah.
And then after I go through all the research, a man sitting behind me goes, well, even though they're not mandatory, last year we had 88% of our school population vaccinated against the flu. And, with it being mandated this year, we should see
100%.
Better numbers.
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't understand. Like, all the research I just said, people didn't even know what to say. The females seemed to want more information, but they still didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because it's new to them. Because the lies are so rampant.
Because they've been told otherwise.
And a gentleman is bragging about how many children were injected with something I just said, killed a young girl. I read a court document of a young girl dying from the flu vaccine after brain damage and epileptic seizures caused by the flu vaccine. After I read all that, he brags about I'm like, and that's what I'm getting at here. It's a faith-based religion. People have faith in it. They can't listen to facts. They can't even hear it. It goes in one ear, and out the other. What are we training our students that this is people involved in our school board? And it wasn't a school board member, I don't think. But that's what happened. I'm sorry if I'm offensive to people out there but I'm begging you, please, take it into consideration, our child's health and well-being, and look at what the drug companies and vaccine manufacturers are doing. It's a sales job. They want money. That's it. All right. We got a question online here, I believe, or statement, comment by Kimberly. She says, I delayed vaccines and at 1 year old started DTaP with my son. He was completely healthy with no prior issues. Almost immediately after his shot, so before I read the rest of that, man, DTaP is one of the bad boys. Like that's a dangerous vaccine right there. That's one. And what's the risk of tetanus? Almost nothing unless you have a major puncture wound and you can't bleed it. You need to bleed so that the blood flushes it. Okay,
so it
and then you
it out.
clean it. That's really the extent of tetanus. All right. My brother-in-law, we butcher our own chickens, I'm the wild doc and we do that.
Yeah.
So we're butchering our own chickens and he cut himself pretty bad, and because of everything probably, and he started getting the striations where you could see the red mark streaks going up his arm. So that's the big sign of tetanus. So what we did was we actually soaked garlic in olive oil or coconut oil, rubbed it on the arm. We put essential oils on his arm. He was taking vitamin D. I was adjusting him multiple times a day, which boosts the immune system. We were doing all the things. He was taking garlic orally. He was taking vitamin D. He was doing essential oils. We did everything, and you could see it just reverse. So we were able to keep it. So there's ways we can help somebody even when they do get tetanus. So tetanus, diphtheria doesn't really happen. You know what I mean? Like it's in malnourishment is when we're at risk of diphtheria. Yeah. And then pertussis Well, the acellular pertussis causes increases in Bordetella parapertussis, another type of whooping cough, and then you spread that more. Plus, you cannot prevent others from getting whooping cough by taking the whooping cough vaccine, because the bacteria actually suppresses your immune system from getting to it. For a minimum of like 7 days in your lungs, you'll actually have a colonization of your lungs, and you'll spread this, okay? So you can't prevent the spread to younger and susceptible populations, so there's no argument for that vaccine. And then there's argument against it when you see that it increases colonization of other types of bacteria that cause the exact same condition. Bordetella parapertussis would cause whooping cough as well. So, and the toxins, so the DTP, before we had the DTaP vaccine, the DPT vaccine was actually taken off, DTP vaccine was taken off the market because how many neurological events, neurological harm,
because of the
how many children were brain damaged
administration of it.
And the research from 1977 actually showed that there was 0 increases in decline. So the declining rate of whooping cough stayed basically the same throughout vaccination. So it didn't help at all. There was no benefit. In fact, there's several research studies that show that by vaccinating, we shifted the disease burden by allowing our children to walk around with asymptomatic. That's one of the other problems with the DTaP vaccine and the whooping cough vaccine. It causes asymptomatic disease. So these children walk around with it's like having a silencer on pistols, a lot deadlier if you want to use it in the wrong way. Okay? So you can't hear them cough. They're not coughing, but they're spreading it. So then they walk into cancer wards to visit their family members, or they walk into the newborn area in the hospital, and they just got vaccinated. Well, then they got more bacteria in their lungs, and they're asymptomatic. So they spread it more. They actually showed the disease burden was shifted onto the younger populations. Also, another problem was when you vaccinate one generation, you actually suppress the body's ability to acquire natural infection strength, which means a stronger immune response and lifelong cellular memory against that bacteria. So when you breastfeed your newborn baby, you're protecting them with your immune cells.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting less of that now. So now they want to vaccinate even a more susceptible population. That's why they're trying to vaccinate pregnant women. So the problem the vaccine created, they're trying to fix with the vaccine. That's moronic. That's idiotic. That's what I'm talking about. I'm sick of stupid people.
Yeah.
And people are, I know I'm using terms that are harsh, but I'm done. I'm over it. I'm sick of this.
You have to get your message through. You have to do
When
it.
people don't listen to the facts and research and then ask intelligent questions, but merely state the percentage of children vaccinated after me saying, here's all the research showing harm.
Well, 88% have been vaccinated last year. Oh.
I'm sorry, I just hit my forehead on the mic. It's the radio show.
I caused him to do
Facebook
that.
know what I just did. But I'm just like, come on. All right.
That's an insane reaction.
So this, Kimberly, I delayed vaccines to 1 year. Started the DTaP vaccine with my son. He was completely healthy with no issues prior. Almost immediately after his first shot, he developed chronic strep. See, that's the effect of the vaccine. He developed chronic strep, started banging his head on hard objects, developed what was later diagnosed as celiac. All right. So what takes place, see, this is the problem. What happened there is vaccines are known to cause allergies. They're known to cause autoimmune type reactions and programming autoimmunity into a child's immune system. So that's what took place there, is by vaccinating, stimulating the wrong immune response, a Th2 response, not Th1, a pro-inflammatory autoimmune type reaction. Your son could have been susceptible basically to gluten. Celiac disease would be gluten. And the reason celiac could cause in the vaccine, he had inflammation of his brain. That's why he would be banging his head, because he wants to try and stop, you know what I mean? People with severe headaches, it's like, just hit me in the head with a tack hammer because I hurt so bad. Like the brain is inflamed. So there's inflammation on the brain. He became more prone. So they took a minor gluten intolerance, promoted a Th2 inflammatory response.
And magnified it.
Autoimmune response and magnify it. You're exactly right. That's what took place. And see, now that child, if this mom wouldn't have identified that, multiple more vaccines would just keep causing more and more autoimmune type responses. And look at the facts, look at the research. You read a bunch of research studies, you're going to find that autism and diseases affecting the brain, neurodevelopmental diseases like the autism spectrum disorder ones, they're claiming that they are a autoimmune type reaction, that there's inflammation and digestive issues in the gut. So that's what's going on. And also inflammation in the gut further perpetuates. So when you look at healing a child like this, Kimberly, if you would, email me. I'll send you some things. I don't know if you're in the local area or not, but email me at drdalebrown@gmail.com. Make sure that you like us on Facebook, which you already have, it looks like, probably. And thewilddoc.com. I'll post some of the research studies if you'd like to take these. What we need her to do, hopefully, Kimberly, you've gone back to those medical physicians and identified that. These things happen. We just got to kind of start promoting the normal Th1 immune response. We need to get the body back into regulation. I believe very specific chiropractic, neurologically based chiropractic care for specific adjustments to the areas of the body, and what we could do for like Kimberly's son or another doctor hopefully could is do an autonomic heart rate variability study, see if he's high sympathetic or high parasympathetic nerve supply, where his body is out of balance, and then you can actually specifically adjust the spine accordingly to stimulate those areas that are weaker and enhance those or remove interference in those vertebral segments to allow the body to function. Because what I see a lot of times is children that are susceptible have poor heart rate variability, and they've done the research on things like PTSD, cancer, all kinds of diseases, that people that are susceptible have poor heart rate variability scores, meaning their body cannot adapt to stressors. So by vaccinating, that's a stressor. The body couldn't tolerate it. It was already at a weakened state, couldn't tolerate it, couldn't overcome those toxins, couldn't eliminate them, couldn't regulate the immune response. So getting the body back into regulation is critical for anyone that suffered a vaccine injury. And basically anybody that wants to be healthy needs to have a properly regulating nervous system. So, and then obviously removing triggers like celiac, gluten, those type, or gluten because of the celiac. Got another comment here, Jessica. My healthy son developed pneumonia after the MMR shot. See, what we're seeing here is multiple parents seeing that their child has a weakening of their cellular immune system, and that's what vaccines are proven to do. You know, we were going to talk about cancer, but here's the reality.
Yeah.
There are studies, I don't have them in front of me because I didn't prepare for this, but I've read studies that actually show that cancer cells in rats accelerate growth. There's more cancer cell growth in rats when they're vaccinated with things like the flu vaccine. Why would that be? Because of this right here, evidence showing that we have an immune suppressive effect through vaccination. We have a cellular immune system. So your cellular immune system helps you fight viruses and colds and flus and stuff like that. Okay? And there's a balance between the Th1 and Th2 responses, the cellular immune response and then the inflammatory immune response. But there's an improper regulation, there's too much inflammation, and that promotes cancer growth, that causes cellular damage, which then can turn around and develop into cancer. So there's a causing effect of vaccines with improper immune response, eventually leading to, so there's a pathological or physiological pathway by which vaccines could increase your cancer risk. All right, in dogs and cats, there's what's called vaccine-induced cancers. It's a side effect of animal vaccines, okay? They have identified that it's the aluminum adjuvant is the most likely cause of that, and the improper cellular immune response causing inflammation, cellular damage, eventually tumor growth through these vaccines. So if it happens in animals...
That's a theory I'm going to find out about.
Yep.
Because, you know, we talked about ferrets a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And one of the things that affects ferrets later on in life is some form of cancer.
Yeah.
Well, I have not vaccinated mine.
Good deal.
So I'm going to see if this is what happens.
That's awesome.
You know.
Yep.
This will give me this will be another sign.
I mean, if it was just cancer genetics in ferrets, well, what about ferrets in natural wild?
Yeah.
In the wilderness. Like,
I don't think it happens.
We don't see that. We don't see cancers in animals out in the wilderness.
But now, I see a link.
There is
from the
we
vaccinations causing
Yep.
cancer further down the line
Yep.
as the animal gets older.
Yep. And I mean, diet and things like that with dogs and stuff. We're
Yeah.
eating grains and just horrible. Like, I've never seen a dog in my garden, dig up the carrot.
Yeah.
Like, I always
Well,
laugh. Like,
that's an unfortunate
it's got
thing.
fruits and vegetables in it and lean
Ferrets
protein. Like,
don't
I'm
eat
like,
vegetables,
I
so.
feed my dogs deer meat.
Yeah,
majority
they're
of the time, and then we'll
carnivores.
get like salmon and potato.
Yeah.
Because they'll eat some tubers and stuff like that. Dogs will. They'll eat, some nuts and seeds.
Yeah.
It's funny because I have like black walnuts and hickory nuts that I save and then I haul myself. And my dog actually has been eating the hickory nuts. I'm like, Lola, why do you like hickory nuts so much? It's hilarious.
She likes them.
But I've never seen them dig up a carrot though. It's kind of funny. So when they
No.
advertise, like, it's got carrots.
It's got
in it.
carrots
I'm like,
and corn
I've
and
never seen a dog. They don't have
potatoes.
teeth for eating carrots.
Yeah.
Like mashing like a cow does. All right, back to the. I appreciate people, just commenting on Facebook and just kind of in support of this and giving your testimony, showing, people out there, the listeners that may be questioning vaccines, or questioning the information that I'm giving. I thank you for that because this is what we need. And we need people to stand up and just speak up. Speak up, tell your friends, tell your family members. Don't hold back because if the people that know the truth hold back and don't share the truth, again, I've said this before, don't just like this video, share this video, share the truth because the truth, when shared, is the only way we save and change lives. If we just like the truth and keep it to ourselves because we're afraid of losing a friend or having an argument or having to go into confrontation, you know what? Confrontation is necessary sometimes when we want to save lives and when we want to help people. And with a loving heart, and I know some people say I don't have a biggest loving heart when I get on these radio shows, but you know what? I'm just going to shout the truth as loud as I possibly can in hopes that people hear me.
Hope
and
that
then,
they wake up and hear the story, hear
and
the truth.
see why I do this. Why do I do this? Because I hate deception. I hate lies. I hate it when I watch people being taken advantage of and put on opiate painkillers, being given vaccines without information, when they're told they can't heal and they've got to be on their drugs for the rest of their life, when I know that's a lie, when I can get people healthy by looking at the factors that allow us to develop disease or put us susceptible to disease. So again, I can't thank people enough for this. So her son, after the MMR vaccine, developed pneumonia. He wasn't exposed to anyone who was sick from a non-smoke. She's in a non-smoking home, never been around a smoker or anything. The doctors on Fort Campbell told me it was nothing to do with probably any of the vaccine. All right, so I know better. Pertussis scare tactics are harsh on new parents. Man, they are. I mean, now they got that video about like grandma who's a wolf. The only wolf is the vaccine manufacturers. Actually, they're the snake. No, that's the NIH. Do you understand that the NIH symbol is a snake, a serpent? Like that's their symbol?
Yeah.
Because it's a Greek, When you look at biblical history, the snake is not a good thing.
No.
But it was a idol for Greeks and the Egyptians.
And now it's a symbol.
And now it's a symbol of medicine.
Yeah.
Sin. Yeah, anyways. All right, Anthony, let's through some of those. Make sure if we got questions, so we answer those for as many people as we can. I do want to gear this up. I do, I've been talking a lot about this because I really, it's on my heart to have to combat the lies. Because if we allow deception and lies to continue, people are always focused so much on that. And they get sold out for the lies that you can't even bring them over to say, look at this. Here's a way to heal. Here's a way to be healthy. They get so scared into doing what's the worst decision, the worst thing they can do for their, and this is all health.
It is.
That we're scared into taking chemo. We're scared into going through surgery.
If you don't do this, you're going to die.
Yeah. That's a fear-based system. You know what? I want to, because that's the thing is when I'm cursing the darkness over here that there's so much wrong being done, I'm right here like, please, let me show you.
Yeah.
My son took his elderberry this morning. He loves it. I mean, he's like begging. He's like jumping up and down like he was
ready for it.
You know the old saying, he's like a crack fiend on elderberry. He's like an elderberry fiend. He's like, I want more. More, mommy, more. He's like yelling. And he loves it. He licks the spoon off. And I'm like, that right there, while a child's got a fever and fighting the cold, and get that child adjusted, you know what? No fear is necessary. That child is going to be fully healthy and fully well in a matter of days because their immune system is strong. They're not malnourished. We don't need to live in fear, but
because their immune system will fight it off.
But parents live in fear because of what the system has taught them to be fearful of the fever, and then they take these medications that harm the kidney and liver and then cause one of the largest epidemics of kidney and liver failure in our country in our children. I'm like, there's a better way.
There is.
All right, so let's talk about this. What is October? It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, right?
That is.
Pink. It's Save the Tatas Month. Pink. I agree with that. I do.
In theory, it is good.
Yeah. I want to save the Tatas. I want to save women from having to develop breast cancer. You know? But I want to do it the right way.
There are
the
better
way that
ways
actually
to do it.
saves their life. That actually shows them they don't need to have their body mutilated. I mean, when you look back to history, I mean, they would literally, in terms, what's amazing to me right now, the research shows that less and less surgery and less chemo and radiation increases survival. There was a study done that less is more. Less of what we've been doing is better.
It's better.
So why don't we cut to the chase and stop what harms them? That doesn't build health.
Yes.
So what tests should we be doing? I want to talk about that. So I want to talk about these things because this is one of the best things. And we'll go through, because I've got like articles here that I want to go through in the next couple shows. October is going to be all about breast cancer awareness. And testing awareness, education, true health talk is going to be, I'm going to be talking about all the things you need to know before you go get a mammogram. You want to be informed to make a decision. Not just your doctor told you could get breast cancer.
Yeah,
what if you got cancer? We don't find it early. Then that's the reality is they say the myth of early detection, there's studies on this, the myth of early detection is horrible. There are stage 4 metastatic cancer patients like my aunt still alive 13 years later that have beat it. Why? Because their body can function properly. Yeah. See, the difference is, and that's the research here recently has gone into this. They're actually showing that the role of the nervous system in determining whether somebody develops cancer is huge. This stuff is huge. We've got studies, genetic tests don't tell you your risk of cancer, sympathetic nervous system in cancer. If you have an active vagus nerve, here's the research study that I wanted to go through. If you have an active vagus nerve, cancer stage may no longer be important. Stage. How do we stage? One of the most important things people need to understand. How do we stage cancer in America right now? In medicine. The way we stage it is basically stage 1 would be you have a localized tumor, it's isolated, it hasn't spread to surrounding lymph nodes, or it's usually, I think it's like 1 or 2. There's criteria for this.
Yeah.
So it's stage 1 when you've had a localized tumor. That's it, nowhere else. Okay? Stage 2 is it's gone to surrounding lymph nodes. Stage 3, it's gone to surrounding lymph nodes outside the breast, like out into the region.
Yes.
Okay? And then stage 4 goes into it's spread to other organ systems, major invasive, bone, lung, kidney, liver, different places like that. So it's spread throughout the entire body. That's stage 4. So why would having an active vagus nerve, what is your vagus nerve?
Yeah.
Vagus means wanderer. And don't go wandering around Vegas.
No,
a bad idea.
Yeah.
But if you have an active vagus nerve, the vagus nerve is a nerve that branches from the skull, branches through atlas, the top bone in the spine. It branches there and comes out and wanders throughout your entire body up to 2/3 of your descending colon. So it goes to basically every internal organ from your heart, your lungs, your digestive tract, your pancreas, your spleen, your liver, gallbladder. All these organ systems are innervated by your vagus, and then your lower colon for flushing your bowels, and then your reproductive system down there comes from the vagus, or not the vagus nerves, but the sacral nerve plexus. So the sacral plexus, parasympathetic plexus there goes out to those organs, and those give you parasympathetic nerve supply, and that suppresses inflammation, that helps with proper control of your immune response. It's your rest and digest immune or nervous system. So what they showed was recent studies have shown that vagal nerve activity independently predicts prognosis in cancer. Independently. So by itself, we could tell the prognosis, what's the future hold for this person, before we do biopsies, anything else. We could do a prognosis. We could literally do a heart rate variability study and see whether the person's going to survive this cancer or not.
All by the heartbeat.
Yep. I've got studies that show that sympathetic nervous system, a heightened stress response, is actually the determining factor when a stage 1 goes to stage 4, progresses. If it goes from stage 1 on, it's got to have a heightened sympathetic tone, a stress response. And there's ways to measure this. We do a heart rate variability study in my office for every one of my patients because I want to know how their nervous system is functioning. Are they in balance? And this test should be done on every single cancer patient immediately. Because if we can't get them down in that sympathetic tone, bring that sympathetic stress response down, and this is reality, cancer is stressful. If you even were told you had cancer, your stress is going to go up. But
that's all you think about is, I'm going to die.
But that can actually, so get this, you could have a stage 1 cancer that would not harm a woman's body, that would never have caused ill effects, never hurt her, that would lay dormant, basically sit there, isolated tumor, it's not going anywhere else, her body's adaptability, she's under low stress. Yes, she was affected by the atrazine in our food supply, on her fruits and vegetables that she got. She thought she was eating healthy, but the chemicals caused hormone imbalances, led to tumor growth, but the body was able to adapt to that, suppress the tumor growth to that isolated area, said, okay, we're good, the body's fine. She goes in, gets an annual mammogram. The annual mammogram comes back positive. Her stress goes up a little bit. She goes in for more medical testing. Every day she's in the hospital getting more and more testing, getting a diagnosis of cancer.
The stress
goes up. Suddenly her sympathetic tone is way too high. Then the parasympathetic nerve supply can't suppress the inflammation.
And it wakes up.
Suppress the tissue replication. It wakes up. It spreads throughout the body, and it's because of mammography that she now has a deadly form of cancer. Does that make sense? Give me an amen, give me a yes, give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
That's the key, folks. See, if you're going to use these tests, you got to be prepared and ready to go with what you're going to do to heal and recover and be healthy before you go in and get the test, because the test can be what triggers your stress response or puts it completely over the edge to where now you can't adapt anymore. You know, what I want to say is this test right there in the literature, in the evidence, showing how important it is to know how your body is functioning and healing. If there's interference to the nervous system, if there's high sympathetic tone, if there's a low heart rate variability, meaning your nervous system is functioning poorly, you're susceptible to the disease. And what's amazing about this study, it's completely non-invasive. All you're doing is looking at your heartbeat, literally, like it's like a pulse. We do thermal conduction of the skin, we do neurological conduction, so electrical conduction of the skin, and then we do heart rate, okay? And these studies, this technology that I have was actually developed in Russia by the Russian Navy for selection of special forces. So at a later date, not in October, we'll talk about how they actually use it to select special forces, because they want somebody with high adaptability, so that they know that they send them into combat, they can adapt, they can survive well. All right? So it's used for selection. You may be physically fit, look great, six-pack abs, be able to bench press 500 pounds, do whatever, shoot on attack, but the reality is, if you can't adapt,
you're
there's
in
risks.
trouble. Yeah.
So they wouldn't select. So they used this technology was developed for that, and then it was used in medicine and other things.
Interesting.
So we use this, and we can do these heart rate variability studies in my clinic, and by doing so, we can tell a person their true risk of disease, from cardiovascular, because high stress, high blood pressure, diabetes, those types of things. All these diseases are directly correlated and directly caused by poor adaptability. Stronger adaptability, less risk of disease. Yes, you could poison yourself by smoking way too much, higher than what your body, even at full adaptability, could tolerate. But you get me here. You enhance adaptability. You enhance the nervous system's ability to control and function organ systems so that the body can do what's necessary to remove toxins, waste products, those types of things. Okay? If you want to call my office, 931-591-2010. Again, 591-2010. Call my office. Let them know that you want to get a heart rate variability study, that you want to know your body's capability of withstanding stressors and disease. All right, that test, and what I'm going to do is, it's one of the first times, I'm going to let people know, I'm going to do that test. You can come in, you can sit down, we'll do a heart rate variability, we'll have a brief discussion on that, because I believe that if we can do that, we can help you. All right? That consultation, that test right there, how much do you think it would cost in the hospital?
I have no idea. I would just say lots.
A lot of money.
Lots.
Yeah. It's ridiculous how much these
I
studies.
could imagine.
But it's so simple, though.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is like hospitals. I mean, I read a thing about a hospital actually charging a mother for skin-to-skin contact, like letting her baby be held by her. So the hospital did a C-section, and then they charged her like $40 for skin-on-skin contact. Because it's a procedure now. Skin-on-skin contact is a procedure for a hospital. Again, forehead to the mic.
Yes. Go ahead. Do it again.
I mean, what is that? Like, that's ridiculous. Anyways, but they just charge astronomical amounts of money because it's ridiculous. What I'm going to do, so a test that is worth hundreds of dollars.
Yes.
If you're going to go into a medical establishment,
I would say at least 1,000 or more.
Other places actually have this technology, which I've invested in that technology because I want to know how my body's adapting, how my children's bodies are adapting, how my patients' bodies are adapting. You can get that heart rate variability study for only $20. Give my office a call. Let them know that you want a heart rate variability study. We'll discuss how your body's adapting and healing, and we'll go from there.
What's that number again?
591-2010. 931-591-2010.
Call today.
Yes, sir.
Have that done. Because it just makes sense. If your body is weak,
yeah,
then it can't fight off.
It can't adapt. It's weak. It can't respond.
It can't fight off any kind of disease.
Every cancer patient needs to have that study.
It just makes sense.
We'll be talking next time about more ways that you can prevent it. I brought some mushrooms in today and didn't get it talked about in turkey tail and reishi. We'll be talking about those being used in clinics overseas. Like
I thought he was going to feed me
natural
one.
treatments. You want a little piece if you need it?
I'll try
Tastes
it.
like rubbery bark. Anyways. All right, everybody. Join us next time.